Welcome to the Igniting the CEO Within podcast, where we interview successful, high-level professionals to discover lessons they've learned throughout their career that can help ignite that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge, and I'll be your host for the next 15 minutes or so. Our show is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has developed Launchpad, which offers an opportunity for experienced executive coaches to become licensed circle directors. After completing the Launchpad program, you'll lead your own peer advisory circles, helping other CEOs and entrepreneurs excel in their professional and personal lives while providing a community of support, accountability, and challenge. If you'd like to learn more, go to quaidcircle.com. I'm really excited to get to hang out today with Wendy Hood. She's the co-founder and CEO of Leadership for the Future out of Powell, Ohio. Wendy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. I'm excited to spend time with you today. Thanks for including me.
Oh, I'm excited. This will be awesome. So, look, you've had an amazing career, and especially now in the work that you're doing, you get exposure to so many different types of leaders. I'd love your thoughts on a trait or two that separates the really excellent leader from all the rest.
Yeah, that's a big question. I think it's the right question too. I think in my experience, I have worked with a lot of different kind of leaders, and I think the successful ones that I've worked with, and I tried to model my own leadership journey after, are those that lead with people first,
Mm.
meaning no matter what your business is, it's the guest experience is never going to be better than the team member's experience or the manager's experience. So you sort of teach them hospitality through how you treat them, and then they replicate that with the customer. And I think getting results through people and feeling like there's people are getting more than a paycheck,
Mhm.
meaning I'm getting development, I'm getting to spend time with leaders who are invested in me and they value my opinion. They're coaching me, and it's okay to make mistakes
Mhm.
as long as I learn from them and I make different mistakes next time. um, that's the way that you get sustainable results. It's not through managing, being a taskmaster. I also ran into a lot of leaders in my career that just wanted soldiers.
Mhm.
And there's not to say that soldiers are bad. We need soldiers, but they didn't want their people thinking for themselves. They wanted the thinking to only come from them as the leader. And that stifles innovation. It
Mhm.
squashes engagement. And it doesn't create that kind of environment that you want for any business to grow. So I think it's leading through people. And that doesn't mean, by the way, that you don't care enough to give them the tough feedback. You
Right.
have to give tough feedback as long as it's done respectfully and, with an intent to try to help them grow and improve. That's absolutely necessary as well. So we used to call it carefrontation. I care enough about you to give you the tough feedback.
I like that.
And
I
I
may
think
I may
this,
use I may steal that. That's
yeah,
really good.
feel
Thanks.
free. The spirit of it, and I think too, if you spend time developing the relationship, we used to call it the emotional bank account.
Mhm.
You're making deposits in the emotional bank account. Great job on XYZ, or man, you did this like you exceeded my expectations. Great job. Love that smile, whatever it is. Deposits. And then when
Mhm.
it's time to make a withdrawal, hey, listen, I want to talk with you about what happened the other day.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on X? What do you think you could do differently? What did you learn? How can we move forward from here with a different outcome next time? Um, and that all inspires people to change and do the best for you and for the company wherever it is that you're working, or if you're working for yourself.
Yeah. Wendy, that's really good. I agree with you entirely. It's it's not necessarily natural though, right? Like for somebody
Mhm.
who's coming up, I'm thinking through, you've earned your right to do this and to lead and to all this kind of stuff. And you've got all your own ideas and how to implement them. And so the natural piece is actually to, tell people what to do, right? To have your soldiers.
Mhm.
So how do you coach people to get away from that and to start leaning into their people and empowering them to be successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that you just articulated, I think, is one of the the big transition points that people need to make is, I kind of call it the competence trap
Mhm.
where, what got you here won't get you there. And, I've even coached people that have just worked really hard to get that promotion to director or VP. And now they're on a performance plan because what they used to do as a doer is no longer working as a leader
Mhm.
and the team is mutinying on them. They're having an allergic reaction to the telling, and that feels, theirs is noticeable. So, I think first there's got to be an awareness of what got you here won't get you there,
Mhm.
and what must it feel like. And I like to take people in a little way back journey because we've all worked with someone at some point in our career. You don't get to a director or VP level or C level. You haven't worked with somebody who's a teller and a micromanager. And what did that feel like? What was your level of engagement? What did you do to work with that person? Would it surprise you to understand that people think that about you right now?
Hmm.
How would you feel if they did? What's behind the need for control? And sometimes you have to loosen your grip to actually get more control. And I think when leaders make them the single point of failure by, you got to come to me, you got to talk to me, I'll give you the answer. I call it the answer vending machine. It becomes that learned helplessness
Mhm.
that, facilitates like everybody kind of gets smaller almost. And so challenging that thought process with leaders and helping them understand that if they don't let some of this go and empower others to do the thing that they used to do, and by the way, they may do it differently than you did,
Mhm.
and that's okay. The approach can be different, and the goal can be the same.
Yeah.
Um, that if they don't learn to do that, what's going to end up happening is they're not going to be successful in this role because people are going to start looking at them as the person who's not doing the role that they were hired for. They're still living in the past role.
Mhm.
And their team's not growing. They don't develop a bench. They don't have people that are engaged. There's no talent growth strategy. The world just gets smaller and it starts to close in on you. I've had people that have, gotten that promotion and within 90 days are on a performance plan because, they're now failing and they don't understand why. And unfortunately, nobody hands you a book or even a little article and says, "Hey, everything you did to get here is not gonna work in the next role."
Right.
Unless you have one of those great leaders that helps you transition and challenges you and coaches you through it, it's a, hitting the wall, failing, "Okay, well, that didn't work," trial and error, unless you have a coach or somebody to help you, in a leader or a mentor, it can be very difficult, and gradually, then suddenly you're in trouble.
Right. I think I love all that. That's really good. I think some of it too is you want to prove yourself right away,
Mhm.
right? So instead of gradually easing into the role, instead of walking around and learning things like what do you think we do well? What do you think we don't do well? What those types of things. You're so eager to make an impact that you just go charging in, which is not a bad characteristic, right? Like, I mean, the anxiousness to be successful and to do good
Right.
things. But I think we lose sight of the fact that we have time, right?
Yeah.
Like, whatever happened that the opportunity presented itself, whether somebody was underperforming or somebody overperformed and now got promoted somewhere else, we have time to get in and do this. You can't. It's almost like I'm in Indianapolis, so the Indianapolis 500 is here in May. You can't win the race on the first lap, but you sure as heck can lose it on the first lap, right? And
Yeah.
that's kind of akin to what you're talking about. Of you can be a great human and a great leader and all this kind of stuff, but if you don't walk into those first 90 days appropriately, you can lose your whole team and your whole opportunity right then.
Yeah, and I've seen that happen. I think too, like I agree with what you're saying, like the want to do well right from the jump, but the calibration of what well is needs to change. So it needs to, the currency changes from having all the answers, doing all the telling, to asking all the questions and helping others figure out, through your questions, what the right next step is, how to take it, what are the risks, what are the benefits, um, how to think about it differently, creating thinkers. And that's also how you get the team, you win the team. That you have to have the team.
Right.
If they, to your point, in the first 90 days, if you are a drill sergeant or a major teller, micromanager, you lose the team, especially if they're used to being led by somebody who invested in their development and wants them to win. And you try to you have to recognize the currency changes from having all the answers to having the right questions and being a strategic thought partner as you grow your career. And your role is really getting the work done through others so you can spend more time on strategy.
Hmm.
But if you don't recognize that change, this at the root of, I hear a lot of people talk about burnout. A lot of times the root of burnout is they've made this transition, but they're still doing what they used to do, plus trying to fit in how to do the new thing too.
Yeah, that's good. We talk a lot in Quade circles about leaders finding where they are most beneficial to their organization and getting there as soon as possible, right? And
Right.
that's going to at every level that's going to change, but certainly at the CEO level and the founder level, that's getting out of the day to day. That's empowering people. That's creating strategic vision, all those things. So how quickly can you get to that so that you're
Mhm.
actually adding value to your company, to the role that you're supposed to be playing, and starting to develop people like you've talked about all along in this
Right.
conversation.
Right. I think too, the other mistake that I see people make when they make these transitions is not respecting the up to now. So not
Hmm.
spending time building the relationship with the team that you're gonna, you know, is gonna report to you, also laterally and up. Instead, making assumptions about what you think might have happened, and you could be wrong.
Yeah.
Or, you nobody likes to have assumptions made about them. And so that can create a little bit of friction,
Hmm.
where if you just slow down to go faster and sit there and go, okay, tell me about your journey. What's the last year been like? What do you miss about the last leader? What are you hoping for in how I'm going to show up? What do you need from me as a leader? Instead of, it needs to be two-way and not, here's what I
Hmm.
need from you. Here's what I expect from you. It needs to be both sides. What do you expect from me? Here's what I expect from you. What do you need from me? Here's what I need from you. And really building that strong foundation, because inevitably something's going to go wrong, or
Hmm.
at least suboptimally.
Yeah.
And if there's trust and relationship there, the person on the other side of that is going to go, I don't think Wendy would do this on purpose. I need to understand what she was thinking, and so that I think we can get through this, but I need to ask her some questions and not just, "Can you believe she did this? Oh my
Right.
god!" The meeting after the meeting, or the back room, the water cooler chatter.
Yeah.
You want them to come directly to you, but you can't do that if you haven't built a relationship.
Yeah. No, I like that. A lot of my career was in as the CEO of banks, and I happen to find myself being in turnaround situations a lot because I
Mhm.
really like to take stuff that's broken. And to your point, my first 30, 60 days was spent walking around and talking to people and just saying, this is Mark phrases, "Hey, what do we do well and what do we suck at?" Right?
Mhm.
And you would, well, you would believe what people will share. I mean, they'll share everything if you
Yeah.
ask, and
Yeah.
but genuinely ask, right? Not like it's a checkbox, right? But genuinely ask. And
Right.
that meant everything to people, to know that they were being heard, to know that, I wasn't just coming in and we were going to change things because, everything you did up to now has been bad and we need to change it all today. And
Yeah.
so it was really appreciated along those lines. So yeah, this has been a fun conversation.
Yeah. I think that's also important. I think your instincts were so right. I think a lot of leaders come in and think, to what you were saying earlier, like I've got to be the person, I've got to be the big voice, and taking the time to slow down to go faster and really understand what people think, what they see, and the value of doing that authentically. And I'm not saying you may not challenge what you hear.
Hmm.
Oh, well, when that happened, what did you do? Because leadership is not a title. We're all responsible as leaders.
Right.
So, how are you holding peers accountable? How are you, challenging status quo? But you have to make that value and seen as valued. It's funny too in my coaching. I hear this so much as people move up and I felt this myself too. It gets lonely,
For
and
sure.
the people that you can talk to that are like have your best interest at heart and see your situation from different perspectives that maybe you don't see. I heard this saying the other day and I love this. You can't see what's on the label if you're in the ketchup bottle. I love that.
Yeah.
And so, somebody who's outside of the ketchup bottle to kind of help you see things a little differently, and helps you go faster. But it's really building that relationship and then, continuing to put deposits in the trust bank. And you build trust by giving honest feedback too. And I think there's a real shortage of that in a lot of leaders in today's world. They're afraid to give the news that somebody needs to do something different. And I don't know if sometimes it's because they don't know how.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes they don't know how to say it in a way that gets the response. And some is just fear.
Yeah.
And we run around and let fear drive the bus, it's going to crash at some point. And likely we're going to be, in the driver's seat when it happens.
Yeah. Wendy, this has been amazing. Thank you for taking time and hanging out with me today. Would you do me a favor and share with our audience what a typical engagement with you looks like and how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So, as you mentioned earlier, I have a company called Leadership for the Future, and they can reach me at Wendy at leadershipforthefuture.com. And the four is the number four. We tried to make it a little bit shorter. And it didn't, I mean, we're not marketers, we're coaches. Um, but a typical engagement can be, most clients will do, 90 days to 6 months packages. We meet biweekly. We have a program called the Operator's Edge, which really targets this thing that we've been talking about, but these transition points, and helping operators understand the differences between becoming the best operator and becoming the strongest leader in the
Mhm.
room. But we work on all kinds of things, burnout, founders, startups, people that are struggling. We help people understand how to have those difficult conversations, which we talked about earlier. And then at the end of the engagement, there's a conversation about, do we want to continue the engagement, and we reassess what the new goals are. But we start from a goals perspective, and we just start chopping through it.
I love it. I love it. Wendy, thanks so much for hanging out. This has been a joy.
It's been fun. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you reaching out, and I wish you so much success.
Great. Thanks so much. All right,
Thank
y'all. We've
you.
done it again. We found another amazing leader to share insights on your way to the CEO seat. As a reminder, Igniting the CEO Within is sponsored by Quaid, a nationwide community of CEOs and entrepreneurs. Quaid has created Launchpad, which provides an opportunity for experienced executive coaches to become licensed circle directors and significantly impact the lives of CEOs and entrepreneurs. To find out more, visit quaidcircle.com. Until next time, keep igniting that CEO within you. I'm Mark McFatridge. Thanks for listening.